UN have not been addressing the inspiration of the farmers, the rural people, the indigenous people, the youth, the women, and this Global People Summit is in counter to that and raising and mobilize the masses of this global process which is not delivering to us. And this siege is starting of that. I hope people here have been addressed and know that what are our purposes and objective of this People Summit, and this siege is we are starting this process now. And what is the Global People Summit? El, can you please elaborate a bit more on the GPS we are in the progress?
Right. So as Wally mentioned, the Global People Summit is a counter summit and a way of reclaiming our voices and asking for real transformation, demanding real transformation in our food systems towards justice, equitability, health, and sustainability. And as the pre-summit is starting, the UN Food Systems Pre-Summit, we are launching the Siege the Summit Counter-Mobilization to oppose corporate capture of food policy governance and to find our own people-powered solutions to the crisis that we're living in.
Okay.
So what we mean by Siege the Summit is our symbolic expression of our opposition to this corporate agenda. And this event today marks the beginning of 3 days of on-the-ground actions in Rome and Indonesia that are happening right now, as well as in the Philippines tomorrow. And also we'll have a webinar on July 27th on Tuesday that will tackle one of the very neglected themes that drives global hunger that is being undiscussed by the UN Food Systems Summit, which is war, sanctions, and occupation. But over the course of this next hour, we're going to check in with the folks at the protests in Jakarta and in Rome, and with people's organizations from around the world who have created messages and statements about the need to seize back the summit and to seize back food production from neoliberal capture. We're going to be hearing from partner groups and people's movements in Latin America and the Caribbean, in Asia and Africa, and the West Asia, North Africa region on how neoliberal food systems impact their lives and livelihoods and what they're doing to push back against it. We'll also see clips of the previous events held in the Global People Summit that have tackled the plight of fisher folk and agricultural workers. And of course, we're going to speak with representatives from the ongoing protests in Rome and Indonesia. We also want to hear from you on the question of how do you envision just, equitable, healthy, and sustainable food systems? This central question is what's animating the Global People Summit. So what does such a system look like to you? What doesn't it look like? And how do we build these systems both locally and globally? So we're asking you to put your thoughts either into the Zoom chat or onto social media, particularly on Twitter or Facebook, with the hashtag #SeizeTheSummit. And we're going to be monitoring the Zoom chat and these Twitter threads and Facebook threads to read some of your answers during the event. And if you could give some instructions, Wally, on how that works with Zoom.
So for our Zoom participant, please stay until the end of the program because we will have our group photo taken and our chatting. Of course, this is people's event and this is alternate to UN. We are not here just to listen from the speakers. We are all welcome to chip in your thoughts and views. And that's how we are dynamic, we are diverse, and we are democratic. So please stay till the end of the event. And at the end, you all will be into a speaker room or Zoom. You can on your video, audio, and you can also be part of this siege process. Now we'll start with the first series of our messaging global online mobilization. We have prepared for all of you. Let's hear from our Asian rural people what they are saying. There are 6 videos you will be seeing from various parts of the Asian countries, which include Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and some other countries. Let's watch the videos from Asia region. Can we have the videos?
This United Nations Food System Summit is not considering the rural women structural constraints, because rural women are the major food producers in Asia. Without them, the food, the nutritious food at home and in the society will not be available. We will not agree with the United Nations Food System Summit because they are not including women's concern, and it is not considering the gender inequality. And the gender inequality is because of production resources. It's not in the hands of women. Rural women are landless, even though they produce food. They work, 70% of rural women are agricultural workers, fisheries, pastoralists, vendors. All those people who are involved in producing food is not considered and consulted in this summit. So we reject, we are not going to join this food system, which is completely controlled by the World Economic Forum, which has contacts with many corporations. It is with the interest of corporations summit is taking place. Corporates are looting our natural resources in the rural areas. And besides that, rejecting the food summit, we are joining Global People's Food Summit, which has a concept of agroecology, and Global People's Summit is for people. It's for food sovereignty. It is for the rural women to find land resources, protecting the natural resources.
I'm Jitan Yumnam. I represent the Indigenous Peoples Movement for Self-Determination and Liberation. At the onset, I would like to state that the neoliberal food systems is not working, but in reality, it's been driving hunger across Asia. Decades of reinforcement of neoliberal policies and solutions enforced in the food system and agriculture has been hindering the Asian people's access to sufficient, diverse, and nutritious source of food. The neoliberal solutions drop the rural communities and indigenous peoples to increase land alienation and rising hunger levels. Small farmers, fisherfolk, migratory workers, and pastoralists are all affected by continued displacement, decreased income, and lack of social protection. The pursuance of neoliberal food systems have led to land grabbing of indigenous and rural communities' land for monocrop plantations and other unsustainable development discourses, which includes the pursuance of palm oil, for example, across Asia. The development aggression increased by the state and private corporations in the ancestral land of indigenous peoples, including for contract farming, for building dams, for large-scale other destructive projects, have undermined indigenous people's food production systems. For us, indigenous peoples, our traditional knowledge, sustainable farming, and traditional agriculture practices are virtually erased, while our communities are displaced, wiped out, attacked with expansion of neoliberal projects and associated militarism. These solutions and instead policies demolish the vital public institutions and left farmers vulnerable to market volatility and private profiteering due to lack of effective safeguards. What we need today is people-powered solution. We take inspiration from the collective farming from agricultural workers and indigenous peoples to cultivate hectares of land to plant diversified and sustainable food crops. We forward people's effort for national food security and sovereignty that creates a more just, resilient, and sustainable food system, which prioritizes the improved food access for vulnerable people, and also that recognize the diversified and the human right-based indigenous people's food production systems. The key to counter the ruin brought by the corporate controlled food systems is to support the advancement of genuine land reform and food sovereignty through sustainable agriculture. Thank you very
much. This is Saiful Haq from Bangladesh Agricultural Labor Union, Balu. The new liberal food system is not working here and failed to fulfill the food sovereignty of our people. It is at a very desirous situation at present. Government has no any comprehensive public distribution system here. There are some social safety net program for rural poor along with the agricultural workers, but it is not working properly due to corruption, nepotism and mismanagements. The 25 million people has been degraded below poverty line in this pandemic situation. The authoritative government and its finance minister even has not accepted the very facts. So in this context, Balu has been continuing its various initiatives and efforts for a comprehensive and solid food sovereignty of our people. Best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
sang Upper Bungsuan Farmer Association o kunog pa nga isa man ka iptis kaga DIPS practitioner. Ang bintaha sang DIPS kay nagakasari-sari ang imo talamnon healthy pa kaga sigurado ka. Ang panawagan lang sa gobyerno nga suportahan ang mangunguma sa agrikultura kaga untaton ang GM corn kag suportahan ang mga organic farmer sa ilang pagpanguma.
Ang ating pong binhi ay makakakuha tayo ng iba't ibang klase kung saan siya pwede. Pwede siya sa tag-ulan, pwede siya sa tag-init, magaling siya sa baha, magaling siya sa peste. Siya po ay uma-adapt sa anumang klase ng klima na dumadating sa atin, lalong-lalo na sa panahon ngayon. Kaya mayroon tayong pagpipilian ng mga binhi kung alin ang sapat at maganda ang tubo sa ating mga lugar. Yun po ang ating i-adapt para rin sa ating maka-adapt siya sa pabago-bagong sitwasyon ng klima lalong-lalo na sa ating bansa, sa Pilipinas.
Bilang pagtulong doon sa mga kalikasan, kailangan nating ibalik yung organikong pamamaraan ng agrikultura. Kasi sa kasalukuyan, ang mga nasusunod ay ang mga kapitalista. Sila yung may kapangyarihan na diktahan yung mga magkasaka doon sa kanilang mga binhi. Siguro kailangan nating ibalik yung mga sinaunang binhi, yung ating mga traditional, sapagkat dito natin makikita yung hawak ng mga magsasaka, yung mga binhi na ganitong na ganito. At siguro din yung pagbabayanihan ng mga magkasaka na sa kasalukuyan ay wala. Kailangan nating ibalik dito sa ating mga sakahan.
Hello, this is Chandra, a secretary of PCFS Asia based in Cambodia. The neoliberalism system is not working for the rural sector in the region because of ironically, agricultural country in Asia realize the more from supply chain disruptions as decades of neoliberal policies made them export-oriented and import-dependent. A border closure, quarantines and border supply chain and trade disruption are hindering people access to sufficient, diverse and nutritious sources of food. Decades of neoliberal policies and programs that create this social, ecological and human rights crisis being repackaged as new solution, but actually technology and market solutions are owned and controlled by these transnational corporations aimed for profit and silver bullet funded and imposed in the global south. Voices and demands of the people who are hungry are not even on the menu, thus it is not on the table, whereas our rights, our planet, serve as collateral into this corporate-led, profit-hungry recovery agenda. Many poor communities are finding it difficult to survive, and it is not surprising that rural people are among the most hungry. The small farmer, fisher folks, migrant workers, and other marginalized groups are hit by a flurry of impacts: loss of income, continuing displacement, and lack of social protections. Participating in the Global People's Summit for Just, Equitable, Healthy, and Sustainable Food System, it's called GSPS, to highlight regional and national issues, demand our victory and struggles. The GSPS links farmer and rural peoples, activists and advocates, and pave the way toward a just, equitable, healthy, and sustainable food systems. There is a need for transformations, a need to transform the current neoliberal, colonial, and profit-driven food systems into one that serves the needs of the people, peoples, and the planet. Indeed, there is a need for Global People's Summit. Today, we invite everyone to join rural people of the Global South, the hungry and marginalized of the world, in developing our food system that truly serve the people interests. Let's build a bright future for the working people of the world.
Hi, welcome back. So you have seen 6 messages of solidarity, of passion from India, from Bangladesh, from Cambodia, from Thailand. All of those are mentioning the issues faced by the rural women, their landlessness, and their lack of access and control over agriculture, productive resources. You have heard that how the indigenous people are suffering from land grabbing from their indigenous land, how the neoliberal policies have been captured, controlled by the multinational and the corporations. You have also witnessed that how in Indonesia, our PCFS Asia coordinator were mentioning that this neoliberal food system creating ecological and human rights crisis. All these issues, and you have also heard that the rice farmers are facing a bigger struggle in the Philippines against the commercialization of the golden rice. The Philippine Department of Agriculture Bureau of Plant Industry issued a approval for commercial biosafety propagation of golden rice on July 21. We actually have more organizations that have shared their videos. You have seen just now, but for the time constraint, we will only share a few of them, but we will be sharing them on our Facebook page and Bulwal People Summit after today's event. Please watch them all to get to know more about plight and the Asian rural people aspiration. Now we'll go into to see updates from Rome, Italy. Later we will have an interview from Rome where our comrades are planning demonstration there. But if is there any update from Rome? You can see these pictures are showing how our friends are trying to mobilize masses in front of FAO building in Rome. We will have a live interview from Rome mobilizer, those who are engaging in on the ground, the mobilization of during the summit there, the pre-summit. Is there any other picture? Okay. So friends, you are most welcome to chip in here by the writing in the chat box. I have seen that government should support agroecology, climate resilience at the grassroots level with farmers, men and women, develop local seed and food system, investing on young farmer and green entrepreneur, rather than joining hand with corporates who destroy both farmers and environment and taking away the choices of the consumer. This was shared by Usha from Save Our Rice Network India. Thank you, Usha, for your message. It was rightly said that we should, of course, reject no to corporate control food system. We only go for people's control food system rather than the corporate control food system. And we have a message here. The UNFFS is yet another platform captured by corporation. Shame on giving a space to the likes of Agra and aggressive green revolution pusher. People's Global Food Summit has challenged, exposed, and opposed the global UN system and World Economic Forum. This is from Roots for Equity. Thanks, We have another tweet. If you are to live a good life and a healthy life system, we must avoid food containing toxic chemical. In order to live the best life, we must adopt a traditional way of life. Otherwise, our lifespan will be shortened. This is another tweet we got from a campaign in Pakistan called Campaign for Safe and Nutritious Food. Let me see if there are any messages, other messages in the text box.
Looks like there's one more. FAO and CropLife International Partnership facilitates pesticide industry control of food systems amid corporate capture of the UN food systems. Tell FAO to stop the toxic alliance, just, equitable, healthy, and sustainable food systems now. Siege the summit. So thank you for everyone who has been tweeting and posting on Facebook, and please do put your thoughts in the Zoom chat as well. But now we're going to be turning to some highlights of some previous events, because organizations from across the globe have been hosting national, regional, and sector-based activities to highlight marginal voices, which are so lacking in the UN Food System Summit, to highlight these voices as part of the preparations for the Global People Summit in September. And these events have really consolidated the aspirations and the vision and the demands of people who form the backbone of our global food system. And we're going to look at a couple highlights of events. The events we're going to be taking a look at were distributive justice and access to natural resources and food in the Indian food system, a webinar on WTO negotiations on fishing subsidies, and a workshop on agricultural workers' demands for food system change. If we could have those brought up.
Agriculture workers are very important key points in the not only in the agriculture product, but also they are the people who plant, grow, harvest, and process the food. So therefore, the sustainable food must be produced in a way that takes not only the environment and consumers into account, but also the workers who plant, grow, harvest, and process the food.
சிக்கல்ல இருக்கிறாங்கன்னு அதை பற்றி எடுத்து சொல்ல வந்திருக்கேன். ஒன்றாவது சொல்ல போனால் எங்களுக்கு வேலை இல்லை. வேலைக்கு போகிறதுனால எங்களுக்கு அதுக்கு வேண்டிய சம்பளம் எங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கிறது இல்லை. நாங்கள் அந்த சம்பளத்தை நம்பி தான் நாங்கள் அங்கே தோட்டத்தில் வேலை செஞ்சுக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம். இந்த கொரோனானால எங்களுக்கு சம்பளம் இல்லாதனால எங்களுக்கு போய் ஜாமான் வாங்கணும் ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாக இருக்குது.
The laws in the United States do not allow farm workers to get unions with some exemptions in some states, but it's one of the problems that you have seen or that many of my previous presenters mentioned. And this is something that is very relevant because I think that what has happened in the United States is a good example of what can happen in the rest of the world if we follow the system that this country is promoting beyond their borders.
So the women should have land. Land is a right of women. Land is the right of food. Land is everything for all the people.
Tanpa dominasi tuan tanah besar yang didikte oleh kapitalis monopoli internasional, para raksasa pangan dunia. Hanya dengan jalan itu, para buruh tani pertanian, khususnya para buruh tani pangan, dapat bebas dan maju.
So to change this relation, we need to go for the system of food sovereignty and genuine agrarian reform with scientific land reform. So we need to highlight these concepts.
Asia is supposed to be one of the major, let's say 85% of small-scale fishers are living in this continent, this area. So it's very important for us about these negotiations because small-scale fishers are left out if these things are happening. So in that context, we should say any negotiations for fishing subsidies that commence or going on at the WTO to ensure the interest of the artisanal fishers. Without that, we cannot survive at this moment. And subsidizing industrial fishing for European Union or China and other industrialized countries that will threaten the livelihoods of coastal communities, which are already having a lot of negative impacts of because of climate change and also poverty and marine pollution. At the same time, the Food and Agriculture Organization itself says that 9% of the world fishing grounds are being overexploited or destroyed. So in that context, this should be very carefully considered to subsidize to the industrial countries. And also, as South Asians, we need to have very collaborative work to protect the small-scale fisheries, our traditional fishing sector, to combat illegal, destructive fishing such as bottom trawling, light purseines, and we need to strengthen conservation and fisheries management through ecosystem-based resource management practices so that we promote in this process. And also, regulated fishing combined with the development of clean water, power, sanitation, education, and transportation are also very important to transform the livelihoods of small-scale fishing communities, their well-being, a better future.
The current numbers, according to different studies, can show that more than 60% of the current subsidies to fishing spent by global governments are linked to detrimental subsidies because they do not promote the increase of fishing production. That is, those that promote fishing beyond the sustainable levels. Chile, taking into account that the biodiversity is decreasing due to this exploitation of fishing resources and that detrimental subsidies have not been eliminated yet, when many member states wanted to postpone these objectives during the last year, it is necessary that global organizations representing the artisanal fishing, not only in Chile, but also in Latin America and on a worldwide basis, they should promote the management and sustainable production of fishing. And the support to these initiatives should highlight the importance of all the agents, both private and public, and the policies linked to these policies.
And on that, we hope to achieve the food sovereignty, we need tenure access and also social cultural impacts, gender equity, environmental justice, ecosystem services, economic benefits for all the fishing communities to achieve food sovereignty. So this is to challenge the blue economy and to survive, mainly the survival. If the WTO subsidies for the industrialist countries will be promoted, we will be wiped out. So we promote all the negotiation should be focused the betterment of the small-scale fishers.
So what is digital agriculture? Steal the data of farmers. Does a Bill Gates know how to farm? No. Does a Microsoft know how to farm? No, they know nothing. But they track the farmer, and Gates was placing in farmers' homes in Andhra Pradesh people to document every step of the occupation. There's something called digital green that gets hired by the Andhra Pradesh government to do all this data theft. And digital agriculture means earlier the Monsantos pirated our seeds through genetic engineering. Now, Gates piracies it through digital genomic reading. One of the agendas of the Food Summit is to get rid of the international laws, the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Seed Treaty of the FAO, just get rid of them and bypass them through digital genomic maps. But the worst of it is lab food and fake food. Bill Gates and the Silicon Valley are the biggest financiers of lab-made food. They say, why should people eat real food? And just like they made our coconut and mustard look dangerous for our health and forced us to eat GMO soya, it will take nothing for them to rewrite the rules, rewrite nutrition, and say only lab food is safe and real food that comes from your farm is dangerous. Because when they write the rules, they will write the rules for their mouth. So you make a fake food with about 60 ingredients, genetically modified, artificial, synthetic biology, and every one of them has 5 or 6 patents associated with it. And if we defended the seed against patenting, it is now to defend our real food and prevent the patenting of food. There's been huge attacks on milk. Our women have one cow which they love like their own mother. And they take images of factory farms of America. Farm cruelty. No, we don't have factory farms. One woman, one cow, 100 million lives protected. This fraud on real food is the next battle on food. And this is part of the agenda they're going to launch at the Food Summit. The final issue is, why do they need the crop life? Why do they need the big giants? Because the giants have said, as fake food will grow, bigger and bigger monocultures must grow to supply them, raw material. So food will disappear. It will now be raw materials of proteins, carbohydrates, etc., to be assembled in the labs. So they're looking at ultra processing to make more profits at a time where we need fresh food, local food, biodiverse food. The reason your summits, people summits are important is food will decide whether humans survive or not. Food will decide whether the planet regenerates or not. Food will decide if farmers live or not. And food will decide if we'll be healthy or we'll be sick. Thank you.
So we just heard strong messages demanding change from partners around the world working on these different issues. And what really jumped out to me was the threads running between these different sessions. And the need for regulation and safe technologies in the face of corporate lawlessness and of new technologies, which, when explained, really paint the vision of a world led by the logic of the UN Food Systems Summit, a dark world. So by talking about these issues and the dangers that they pose to our food system, it's clear how the need for transformative change takes place in opposing a double standard of free trade policy and also bringing changes, good technological changes to all sorts of surrounding food, just processing and transport as well. And now I think we're turning to Wally to introduce our next region in focus.
Thank you, Al. But let me reiterate what Vandana says in one of the video here, that food will decide farmer will survive or not. I'll rephrase this. The food will decide the humanity will survive or not. This global village will survive or not. So if it's in the hand of the Agra or the crop tribe or Monsanto or Bayer, it will not survive. Only the nourishment of our food, the nutritious food is produced by the local indigenous communities, especially women. We'll go from Asia. Now we move to the other region. Other region that are just as hungry for change in our food system than Asia. We earlier had heard from Asia. Let's hear now from our grassroots groups and leaders in Latin America and Africa. Let's have their views and inspiration from LAC and Africa. Can we have videos?
Hola amigos, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juan Javier Zárate Rivas y soy el responsable de la Unidad Madre Tierra del Instituto Politécnico Tomás Catari en la ciudad de Sucre, Bolivia. El sistema alimentario neoliberal no funciona no solamente en nuestra región donde trabajamos, en nuestro país o en el mundo entero, debido a que está basado en un paradigma bastante equivocado, el cual promueve el consumo de comida antes que alimento. Queremos hacer esa diferenciación muy importante para nosotros porque comida la queremos mostrar toda esa comida rápida, esa comida chatarra que se dice, que solo llena el organismo y no alimenta como debería ser, no nutre como debería ser. Es muy importante para nosotros discutir este tema porque el modelo está promoviendo este tipo de consumo, pero no solamente es un consumo que evita lograr cultivar una salud en el ser humano, sino que promueve el individualismo, que promueve el enriquecimiento de algunas grandes corporaciones nada más. En este momento nosotros venimos trabajando sobre un nuevo concepto que hemos recuperado de nuestros pueblos ancestrales y que se llama Kumara. Kumara significa la salud integral, salud del cuerpo físico, pero también relacionado con la salud de nuestra mente, con la salud de nuestro espíritu. Y no es una salud solamente que la cuide para mí de una forma individual, sino que es la salud que tiene que ver con la colectividad, con la comunidad. Pero en este sentido también tenemos que considerar como parte de la colectividad a lo que es la naturaleza y la madre tierra. Por eso es muy importante tomar este nuevo concepto para nosotros que lo estamos trabajando para poder tener una verdadera alternativa frente a este modelo neoliberal que está promoviendo, como les decía, solamente la producción de comidas y no de alimentos. Ahora más que nunca que nos encontramos en una pandemia que nos exige ingerir alimentos para poder fortalecer nuestro sistema inmunológico, para poder contrarrestar los efectos que tiene esta enfermedad. Es muy importante que todos nosotros podamos no solamente reflexionar, sino participar en estas cumbres alternativas que se van a dar para poder plantear estos nuevos paradigmas, estas nuevas bases conceptuales, nuevas bases filosóficas que tienen que ver mucho con la riqueza que nos han heredado nuestros ancestros.
The neoliberal farming system or food system has been destructive, inequitable, and irresponsible in Africa. It has depleted our economic, social, and environmental bases. We have been able to counter it by adhering to our local food systems. If there has ever been a case for local food systems, it's the COVID-19 pandemic. If we didn't have access to markets or access to imported food, would have all died if we are not practicing our own agriculture. So local food systems are the way to go. Local food systems and localized production are the way to go.
I am Hakim Baliraine, the chairperson of Eastern and Southern Africa Small Scale Farmers Forum, the biggest network of small scale farmers in Eastern and Southern Africa. But I'm also the chairperson of ESAF Uganda chapter, a member of ESAF. Today I'm going to speak about the neoliberal food system, why it is not working for our sector, especially the agriculture sector. One, it doesn't promote local food production. It is not farmer-led, hence it doesn't safeguard us against shocks and price volatility. Stable food production is not their priority. Instead, they advocate for industrial agri inputs like hybrid, GMO seeds, chemical fertilizers, herbicides, of which these make our planet unhealthy and its people. It only benefits a few who are mostly in corporations and their allies, which are only for profit of our planet. It encourages importation of junk food instead of promoting locally grown food, hence destroying our local markets. It hasn't worked for our sector, more so when they influence our national, regional and regional government by introducing global policies which promote their selfish interests like land grabbing, land of natural resources like water, forest, etc., of which these are essential in the food production. The system is not sustainable and it creates dependency, so it ruins our food sovereignty. They have taken over control of our national research system, and as a result, much of what is researched is not it is not about our own local innovations, but foreign force promoting their interests. Neoliberal food system has failed to provide a just, healthy, equitable, and sustainable food system, which we want. The food system we want must be promoting agroecology and based on its principles. I thank you for giving us this opportunity. I wish you good deliberations.
Thank you. Thank you for the great messages from Bolivia, Africa, Uganda, and our friends from Black and Africa. They have been also highlighting the issues of junk food, the fake alternative, the self-sufficient methods of agriculture production system in Bolivia, which have been, please excuse me if I spell out wrongly, the Kumar system, which was more healthier food system. Now they introduce this corporate-led chemical toxic agriculture food system. Then in Africa, the speaker was mentioning how they adhere the local food system and they safeguard their food security during the pandemic. If we all have been dependent on imported food, we must have been died by now, no? But because our local people, especially the women, are the survivor, are the grower of safe food, nutritious food for all of us. It's not just in Africa. It's happened everywhere. It's happened in Pakistan as well. If our farmers have not been self-sufficient for growing food, we must have been in a very dangerous situation, and many of us have been died by the food insecurity. As my friend from Uganda, Hakim, mentioning that this industrial agriculture production is unsustainable, is unhealthy, and in counter to that, we need the agriculture production based on food sovereignty, where the real producer, the indigenous people, the small farmer, women have access and control over all kind of food, productive resources. Most importantly, land, because land have been commodified by the corporation, by land grabbing, or in our region, in Asia, most likely where the feudalism, only few big landlords have a big chunk of land ownership. So we must get rid of this food system, which is controlled by the feudal, the corporations, and the UN is not dealing this in a true manner. We need to transform this food system. Thank you. Now we'll go to Wana region. We'll hear from Wana L.
So we're going to hear about current initiatives in the region, first from Halamurad with Dubin Association for Environmental Development in Jordan, and then from the Arab Group for the Protection of Nature, which are both talking about environmental issues, but of a different variety than we've heard about so far. You could have the videos. Oh, it looks actually, oh, yes.
مرحبا، هلا مراد من دبين للتنمية البيئية، وهي إحدى أعضاء الشبكة العربية للسيادة على الغذاء. نشارك اليوم بكل قوة بقمة الشعوب العالمية من أجل إيصال أصوات المجتمعات المحلية من مزارعين وفقراء ولاجئين، نساء وشبابا. إن منطقتنا العربية وكما يعلم الجميع تعاني من ويلات الصراع والحروب التي دامت لعقود طويلة، وهذه الصراعات أثرت وتؤثر بشكل كبير على حقوق الناس الغذائية والمائية والبيئية. إن قمة النظم الغذائية العالمية، والتي تأتي لشرعنة عمل الشركات الكبرى الضاربة في عمق تحدياتنا، مما يجعلها بعيدة كل البعد عن فهمنا لأهداف وآليات الأمم المتحدة وفلسفة وجودها من العمل لصالح الجميع، والأهم العمل لصالح الشعوب الأضعف. ولكننا نرى أن الشراكات مع الحكومة ومع القوى الاقتصادية تأخذ الحيز الأكبر من اهتمام منظمي القمة العالمية، مما سينعكس بشكل كبير على تحديات وأولويات المجتمعات المحلية والمزارعين بشكل خاص، مما قد يؤدي إلى وضع أولوياتهم في أدنى السلم، وهذا ما يجب رفضه تماما. إننا في المنطقة العربية نطالب وعبر قمة الشعوب العالمية أولا بأن يكون هنالك مخرجات جادة وملزمة من أجل إعمال النهج القائم على حقوق الإنسان وإعمال الحق بالحصول على الغذاء الكافي والحقوق البيئية، وخاصة بما يرتبط بمشاكل الحرب والصراعات الممتدة وما بعد استخدام السلاح وأثنائه. ثانيا الحفاظ على المصادر الطبيعية من أرض ومياه، أي مقومات السيادة الغذائية، وإنهاء ممارسات الاستيلاء عليها من قبل قوات الاحتلال كما يحدث في فلسطين، أو من قبل ممارسات الشركات الاقتصادية المادية ذات النهج الليبرالي الجديد الذي يهدد نشاطها الاستقرار العالمي من صحة واستدامة وأمن. وأن يكون هنالك وأخيرا اعتراف بالمجتمع المدني والجماعات المحلية كونهم الأقرب للشعوب وقضاياهم، وتمثيلهم بشكل عادل، وأخذ مخرجات أعمالهم ودراساتهم الميدانية على محمل الجد. كل أمنيات الحق والحياة والحرية للجميع.
So we heard from Devine and APN about how conflict too is a primary driver of environmental damages, along with some damages that we heard about like monocrops and ecological exploitation, and other issues plaguing the sector, like GMOs. And we heard Hala from Devine asking for representation of marginalized people and conflict-affected people at the UN Food System Summit, which is so sorely lacking, as well as a human rights centered approach. And we saw from APN's video about the way that food is used as a weapon, another topic which has been almost entirely ignored within the Global Food System Summit. And here, this was highlighted in the case of Gaza, where maybe nearly half of the agricultural production of the strip was taken out during the recent aerial campaign by Israel in May. We also saw initiatives to work with farmers on the ground and use their knowledge to rebuild. So the very opposite of the UN Food Systems Summit approach of putting Bill Gates in charge of what food policy will look like. Instead, going to Gazans and using their knowledge to plant seeds in the ground to feed the people. So because issues of war and sanction and occupation are particularly relevant to not only the West Asia and North Africa region, but to the globe as a whole. These same organizations are also partnering with SWAGAN in Uganda and Roots for Equity in Pakistan, and the CPDE Rural Sector and Working Group on Conflict to put together an event on this very topic. So this will take place in the July 27th webinar in just 2 days to talk about how these wars and occupations and sanctions target resource sovereignty and work to advantage corporate agribusiness. And not only does this take place through direct attacks, but also the threat of violence from rich and powerful countries that stop people's first food policy and a people's first trade policy. So all of these topics will be covered in this webinar in 2 days that we invite you to, which is called The People's Track to Food Security, Genuine Development, and Just Peace. And this is all, again, in response to the silence of the UN FSS on this topic. And this is despite the fact that wars, sanctions, and occupations are one of the primary drivers of global hunger. And what's really stunning is that one of the UN FSS tracks, they have 5 different tracks that they're organizing under, and one is on the topic of fragility. And in hundreds of pages that they've written about the topic of fragility in the food system, I think the word war appears maybe once, if at all. So this very apolitical approach that is coming from the UN FSS leaves people who profit off of conflict comfortable and leaves those who suffer from conflict entirely invisible. So this pre-summit event in 2 days is going to highlight the voices of those who are living in areas experiencing military and economic interventionism, and we'll discuss the relationship between these events and the capture of markets, resources, and lives. And we're going to be hearing from speakers both in the West Asia, North Africa region, as well as in Cuba and Venezuela, and Pakistan and Uganda, about the different facets of conflict in the food system. And also at the event, there's going to be a discussion of current policy work that has some promising avenues for change, as well as a lengthy forum for those who are living in protracted crisis to discuss their ideas. So we're hoping that you can attend. And if you do attend, we'd like you to start thinking about a food system solution that you've seen in a conflict of crisis that's worked, and any messages related to this theme that you would want to be shared with either the Global People's Summit or the UN Food System Summit, because there's going to be, I think, 45 minutes to hear all of your opinions and interventions on this topic. And now I think we are going to be moving to see some of what's going on in Rome in Indonesia. So I think I'll turn it over to you, Wally.
Yeah, thank you, El. So this the exciting moment comes. We will go to Rome directly, to Rome, Italy, where our comrades are gathering and the protests are ongoing. We'll be hearing from Harari's camera. Harari's camera, one of our migrant leader, and you can see the mobilization there. People are chanting, and it's kind of a historical moment where we can see our friends in front of the FAO office is been protesting. So Father Harris, are you with us?
Yes, good morning, good evening, and
thank you for joining us from there. I'm from Karachi, and people all over the world watching and listening you, Father. And I congratulate you from on behalf of GPS for holding such a very important, impressive event. Could you please introduce yourself a bit for our viewers?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me here. I am Father Aris Miranda. I am a Chameleon religious and the actual co-chairperson of the Promotion of Church People's Response Europe. It is a church organization that is really struggling with the people, especially the most vulnerable. And here in Rome, I am also the director of the Chameleon Disaster Service International, which is a humanitarian organization. I have been to Pakistan way back during the flood in 2010-11. So I was working there in Karachi, Hyderabad, Multan, and in Lahore. So it's a pleasure to have you
Great to know. Great to know,
Yeah.
Father. And thanks for your great work in Pakistan as well. Can you please let us know who are the people or what are the organizations participants today's protest here?
Okay, so we have here around 14 organizations. So as you can see on my camera, so we have here a group from Janata Bitmuki Peramuna GBP People's Liberation Front from Sri Lanka. We have also a group here coming from the Bangladesh organization, Dumkatu. And we have also the group, the International Migrants Alliance Europe, Immigrati Sri Lankese, the Global Forest Coalition is joining with us, the La Città Futura or the City in the Future. We have also the Comitato Immigrati in Italia, and of course the Filipino groups Umangat Migrante, Gabriela, and Isambayan, PCPR, and Magdalo Italy. We're all in our 14 member organizations representing this big organization of migrants here in Italy.
Thank you, Father. Oh, it seems a great number of people and groups have been joining, and we all congratulate you. Can you describe what you have done so far in front of the FAO headquarters right now?
So right now we are practically stationed right in front of the PAO building, and we have here we're now listening to the different testimonies of the different migrant leaders, and many of them, of course, are reclaiming or claiming that there's really a huge problem of food in their country, and that's why they are here. Migration is very much related to the problem of food system and production in their respective countries. Namely, we have here from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Philippines, okay, and of course the Italian. We have also the group of the Rifondazione Comunista here in Italy. They are joining with us here in support of this movement right now. So the program is still ongoing. There were several speakers who are giving their testimony, expressing their opposition against what this Pre-Summit is really aiming to, because we want really a real people-empowered system of food production and food consumption.
Thank you, Father. As you mentioned that many of the migrant groups are here. So from the migrant point of view, what is wrong with our current food system?
Well, I think it's very clear. The very reason why they are here, because of food. Many of them could hardly survive their families in their own countries. That's why they were forced to leave. Why? Because in most of these countries, like Philippines, where you're coming from, okay, it is an agricultural country. And yet, we have seen here almost every day, 1,500 people are leaving, going abroad to work. Many of them abandoned already their farms because the government don't give enough subsidy to the farms that they are tilling. It's a farm that is very much export-oriented, and we are producing goods that is not really basically our own needs, but primarily the needs of those people abroad. Okay? So, and of course, the situations in the Philippines and as well as in other countries that we have been hearing is that land grabbing is very much prevalent. Okay? So this really aggravates the situations that they have, because many of these farmers, some of their families actually were farmers, but they were forced to abandon their farm, their farm, because they could not survive with what they have, because they are always at the mercy of the big industries who are selling all these agro products, chemicals, and all other fertilizers, because they are introducing us this, let us say, they were saying is that new technology in farming, and yet it's very, very expensive. And so they ended up borrowing money, and then they could not pay, and so they are forced really to leave and even sell their farms so that to pay for their tickets to go abroad, hoping to find a better job here in this country. Right now in Italy, because of the COVID, some of them lost also their job. Okay, many of them are working as domestic helpers and they're taking caregivers for the elderly. And many elderly Italians died because of COVID. And so many of them lost their job. So this is really, these people, they don't want to stay here for so long. They long to go back home because there's no place like home, as we know. And yet, with the situation right now in the country where they're coming from, I think it's still impossible. It's a dream that still has to be, to reach. So this is the situations in the countries where they're coming from, no? There is so much exploitation, and this is really a big issue that I think, and we from here, from Guam, right in front of PAO, we would like to express our opposition to this pre-summit, and especially the solutions that what they so-called the game-changing solutions that we are going to present in these days. I've been here, several PAO delegates are just arriving and they're passing by here and they're just looking at least they have seen that there are people outside who are raising their voices and pleading them to really think well, something that is really would benefit the people, that would really benefit also the environment, and of course would benefit the country and elsewhere.
Thank you, Father. I can see the passion and enthusiasm of the participant, and of course from you. My last question to you: what is your idea of a just, equitable, healthy, and sustainable food system?
Well, for me, I've been working also in the border of Somalia with the Somalian refugees, who ran away, and just at the border of Kenya. And it's a semi-arid land. I have been also working in other places, and the same problem that we have. The system of farming, I think for me, an ideal, a just, equitable, and healthy and sustainable would, first of all, it has to be inclusive. These people should be involved in everything from the conception of ideas all towards the implementations, because in the long run, they are the ones, they are the primary actors, not those who are in these big agri-industries. Okay? So it has to be inclusive. Everybody should be involved, especially the most vulnerable, and of course, those living in the low-income neighborhoods. And it is also a system that really, from farm to the table, from processing to disposal, ensures economic high-quality jobs with living wages, safe working conditions. And lastly, it is a system that is accessible to healthy, affordable, and culturally appropriate food. This big multinational, they could not just dictate that this is the food that we have to produce. We have our own food, and we know how to produce our own food. I think they don't have a right to dictate to us that you should do this way, because what they're after is mass production. They would just like to have more food for more profit, but not for the benefit of the people, and especially to the health of the people, especially in this period of the pandemic.
Thank you, Father. I thank you very much. We all thankful to you for this great inspiration for us. And this is symbolic for every one of us. We wish we all have been there with you in solidarity to strengthen your movement. But this is even more powerful that you are there and resisting and raising your voice against the new liberal corporate agenda pushed by the UN, United Nations. You are right there in front of the FAO building, and I congratulate you and I salute you. Thank you, Father, for your time and for your valuable comment. Thank you. So friends, we have seen that the enthusiasm and excitement on the ground. So now we'll need to go back.
Now we're turning to Indonesia, yes, where there have been also protests ongoing, and we're going to speak with Dima Samfati, who is the Secretary General of the People's Struggle Front of Indonesia. In one moment when he can join us. And in the meantime, I'm seeing in the chat Anizan Isahak has said, support real food, reject fake food, support small farmers, reject industrial farming, embrace agroecology, which echoes a lot of what we just heard from Rome. Thank you. Oh, and here are our images from the protest ongoing in Jakarta. Let's see, it says, break the chains, food sovereignty now, and neoliberal food systems now. Hi, Dimas.
Hello, hey.
Thank you so much for joining us. Would you introduce yourself a bit for our viewers?
It's okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Dimas. I'm a Secretary General of Front Perjuangan Rakyat, or People Struggle Front of Indonesia. We are actively organized and mobilize multi-sectoral people to fight against feudalism and imperialism in Indonesia.
And my understanding is that there was a protest earlier today in Jakarta. And can you tell us a little bit about that and who the people or organizations are participating in the actions surrounding the summit?
Okay. There are FPR, PLPS Indonesia, and these members, AGRA, National Peasant Organization, GSBI, National Trade Union, SRUNI, Women Organization, FMN, University Student Organization, Pembaru, Rural Youth Organization, and INDIS, Research and Campaigns Organization, joint campaign in Jakarta.
Oh, what a wonderful turnout. And can you describe what you've done so far in Jakarta? I understand there's a little bit of difficulty with some of the COVID lockdowns.
Okay. Okay, we did a picket action in order to raise up people demands against the UNFSS and our aspiration to build just a new food system based on the genuine agrarian reform and national industry. We bring our placard, poster, and flag. During the picket action, we also deliver our speech.
And what have the demands, or what are you hearing from the people who have joined you for why the issue of corporate control is so important for Indonesian farmers?
It's very important because Indonesia is the semi-feudal country under domination of US imperialism. The system is maintained the through practice of backward agricultural system for commodity export orientation, relying on the large-scale monopoly of land, cheap labor of peasant and worker, and low technology. All this practice is implementing by big companies of imperialists and landlord. They don't only control of land, but also seed, fertilizer, agricultural, medicine, and tools. Even the distribution of price of agriculture product, especially food agri product. Under the system, people of Indonesia, mainly peasant, as majority experience serve impact due to prolonged land rent system and usury. We must fight and end this corporate agenda under imperialist domination.
And what are your demands in the actions that are ongoing?
We struggle to assert of demand to realize genuine agrarian reform and national industrialization as basis of a build a new system that just for people and achieve food sovereignty. Our specific demands are one, realize a fair food system based on genuine agrarian reform and national industrialization. Number two, stop monopoly and plunder of land. Number 3, stop food estate project in Indonesia. Number 4, stop PPKM Darurat. PPKM Darurat is a regulation of restricting people activities during the pandemic. It is injustice and detrimental to the people. And number 5, a right to land, work, wage, and stop discrimination for women. Next, stop monopoly on food, seed, fertilizer, medicines, agricultural equipment, and price of agricultural product. Number 7, guaranteed justice and quality education, food, healthcare, and vaccination for the people. And the last, stop work termination, provide guaranteed work, wage, food, and quality healthcare for the working class and the Indonesian people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dimas. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to stand with you in the ongoing fight against imperialism and land grabbing and monopoly control, and for linking these issues to our health and to labor rights and to class struggle as well. All of us here stand with you and with everybody taking action in Jakarta, and good luck going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And here we see the protest in front of the Taman building where the UN office is. We see how even during COVID and all of the precautions that people need to take, how people are still coming to the streets, recognizing that health is not just COVID safety, but health of the planet and health of our food systems too.
We can see the placard also, L. Stop the TNC's agroecology now. And new regular food system now.
Perubahan iklim dan juga tentang krisis yang dialami oleh rakyat di seluruh FAO crop life and the talks to land. Rakyat di seluruh dunia saat ini itu adalah dampak dan juga akibat dari resist US imperialist number one terrorist. Resist US imperialist number one terrorist. Stop land grabbing. Stop land grabbing. Resist. So here too we can see the link between food systems and wider forms of imperial violence and land violence. US imperialist number one terrorist. US imperialist number one terrorist. Imperialist number one terrorist. Resist. US imperialist number one land grabbing. No land. Stop land grabbing. No land. Stop land grabbing. So having heard from the chants in Jakarta and the clear messages towards these imperial countries and the US, who has sent so many of its representatives to the US, to the UN, the UN Food System Summit, and the energy of those assembled there, we're going to turn now to solidarity messages that have been produced by several of the 18 global and regional formations that have been really spearheading the global campaign behind the People's Summit and calling for radical transformation of our food systems. So some of our members today have sent video messages, as well as solidarity messages from Italy and from the International League of People's Struggles. We're also going to play a video of the webinar series on sustainable consumption and production in Asia and Africa, which is one of the events that's part of the Global People's Summit. Okay, and everybody, after these videos, we're going to be making everybody Zoom panelists. So this is when, if you're able to, it would be wonderful if you open your cameras and be on standby so that we can take a group photograph afterwards. So if everyone could get ready for that now, we'd really appreciate it. And we're putting links into the chat for the virtual placards that you can use as your Zoom background. And that way we can use the turnout today in our promotional materials and as a statement of the solidarity that is felt around the world for these issues. But turning now to the solidarity messages, if we can get the videos going.
So what we have seen post 2019, COVID-19, is really based on roots of a very unsustainable paradigm which has been there since humans have decided that they want a class-based system. Since a very small minority of people have believed that they can actually hold everybody hostage to their desire for profit.
Would benefit from all of these projects. In the case of New York City, we have prominent oligarchs, local compradors, and capitalists. And we also have state agencies, and of course, foreign capitalists from imperialist countries. In the same vein that all the other projects inside Central Luzon have these similar configurations.
It's overexploitation of natural resources, and this is happening, for instance, in mining sector. And what is happening is after they've done the exploration and extraction, they normally leave the place bare with nothing. You know, they don't grow any vegetation. So this has implications for climate change.
Means the ability to fulfill food for the people, produce for themselves, like self-sufficient, what we did right now, on a small scale, as well as large production to be exchanged with other communities, because we realize that not the whole food we consume we can produce by ourselves.
So the Israeli occupation was trying to destroy these lands for different reasons. One is to facilitate the confiscation of land. Second was using food as a weapon in the context of war and occupation. So if you destroy the food sovereignty of people, you'll be able to destroy their political sovereignty. And thus we were able to convince and mobilize a lot of civil society organizations that this is, food sovereignty is a way for political sovereignty and political liberation as well.
Conserving and utilizing our traditional seeds, not just in rice, enables us to resist and thwart agro-CNC's malign objective of controlling our food system in the name of profit while negatively impacting our common home.
From 26
to 28th of July 2021, the Food System Summit organized by the UN will be held in Rome with the aim of transforming the food system by making it, they say, safe, accessible, sustainable, equitable. The large American and European multinationals, the same whose representatives will sit at the summit table, own over 70% of the world's arable land. The monocultures that most of these lands host are those that serve their industrial production and their profit, not those useful to feed all humanity with dignity. Territory is defaced and deforested, plundered. How credible are these people talking about saving the food system and transforming it? Will they overturn the entire productive society created on purpose to safeguard their profits? Enough of those sort of empty words and misleading advertising. Proof is revolutionary. To feed the world, capitalism must be eliminated. La Città Futura from Italy expresses solidarity with the protest of the Global People's Summit on the food system that is taking place at FAO.
The current neoliberal food system will never fundamentally address the world hunger problem. As a system that transfers the responsibility of addressing matters like food security, agricultural industrialization, and enhancement of people's lives from the state to the global market, it is clear that people, their rights, and the future of coming generations are not the main drivers and considerations for so-called food systems development. A neoliberal systems agenda will never put people first over profit, for to gain the latter is to dismiss the interests of the former. The overproduction and influx of imported goods into local markets of agricultural countries, continuous land grabbing and land use conversion for corporate monocultures, and the ecological destruction in the global south are part and parcel of a market-oriented production. And ironically, it is our food producers, our farmers, agricultural workers, and indigenous peoples who bear the brunt of so-called development efforts. In this strand, the future is bleak for the rural youth of today who will be the world's food producers tomorrow. We, from the Youth for Food Sovereignty, believe that a just and better future entirely depends on truly sustainable, peoples-led food systems that is grounded on genuine agrarian reform and national industrialization. We need food systems that will uphold the interests of those who work the soil and that prioritizes mass-oriented and agroecological approaches to food production.
Greetings from occupied and unceded land of the Duwamish people known as Seattle, Washington. I'm Simone Adler, an organizer with Pesticide Action Network North America. I'm speaking to you from the headquarters of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where I just participated in an action to protest the Gates Foundation and their Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa in their role in pushing for big tech and big ag and food systems through the upcoming UN Food Systems Summit. Small-scale farmers, fisherfolk, indigenous people, agricultural workers, and food sovereignty activists around the world are demanding that the UN Food and Agriculture Organization not enter a formal alliance with CropLife International, the global trade association representing all of the largest agrochemical, pesticide, and seed companies. I'm here with the campaign to stop the toxic alliance and to demand that FAO do the right thing and rescind from this alliance with CropLife and implement a policy around conflict of interest. Pesticides pollute the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe. Each year, 385 million farmers and farm workers suffer from acute pesticide poisoning. And pesticide usage is a major reason why we have seen a huge collapse of insect populations and biodiversity loss. Small-scale farmers, food producers, and agricultural workers are working to change the way we produce our food so that it doesn't harm people, living beings, and the planet. And these efforts are under threat by the agrochemical and pesticide industry. We know these corporations have one thing in mind, and that's to maximize the sale of their products regardless of health and environmental harms. A partnership between FAO and CropLife would give more space for these companies and seed manufacturers to more aggressively promote such harmful and deadly technologies, only to increase profit and control the food system. So we can't allow FAO, the UN agency charged with reducing hunger and supporting farmers and rural communities around the world, to formally align with an industry that's devastating people and the planet. FAO must advance agroecology and promote an increase to farmer access to practices and tools that help grow food and crops sustainably without harming their health, not partner with the poison cartel. Together we're saying no to paving the way for more power for agribusiness multinationals and to promoting false solutions, and we're saying yes to agroecology as the pathway forward led by farmers and food producers all over the world, and saying yes to reclaiming people's sovereignty over our food systems. Join us in telling FAO that an alliance with CropLife is dangerous for the future of our global food system, and sign the petition to stop the Toxic Alliance. Go to bit.ly/no toxic alliance and add your name to the global resistance. Food systems for the people, stop the Toxic Alliance, rise up against corporate food systems.
Warmest regards from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Malcolm Guy, and I'm the Vice Chair External of the International League of People's Struggle, ILPS for short. The over 400 member organizations of the League, including many that represent peasants and farm workers, are active in over 45 countries and territories around an anti-imperialist and democratic program. Here in Canada, or Turtle Island as Indigenous people refer to it, over 4 million Canadians, including 1.2 million children, had trouble putting food on the table even before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. That means that 1 in 7 households was food insecure. The average Canadian grocery bill has swelled 170% over the past 2 decades. Indigenous peoples and visible minorities are particularly impacted by rising food costs, expected to go up this year by 5%. In Canada's vast north, communities face a food security crisis that impacts health and well-being. And now, with the wildfires raging across large swaths of Canada, and with fruit literally baking on the trees in record heat waves, all the result of neoliberal instigated climate change, future food shortages and even higher prices loom on the horizon. It is clear that the present neoliberal food system is not working for the people or for the planet, even in a supposedly rich country like Canada. The fundamental rights of the people must be put above profit, our planet above corporations, and sovereignty above monopolies. The Siege the Summit actions you are organizing are extremely important for the future of our globe and its peoples. The League also salutes the organizers of the Global People's Summit for just, equitable, healthy, and sustainable food systems that will be held this coming September. We will be encouraging our member organizations to participate and support these initiatives as we all struggle for a radical transformation of the current food regimes. Reclaim our land, seeds, and rights. End neoliberal food systems now. Long live international solidarity.
So now it's time for our collective solidarity, I think.
I think first there's a petition that we're Sure.
So, sorry. So we are inviting everyone here to sign the No to Toxic Alliance petition. Link is shared in the chat now. We also have another petition against the corporate hijack of UN Food System Summit by virtue of UN's partnership with the World Economic Forum the biggest corporate body of billionaires. This petition has been signed by 155 organizations worldwide today. So we also invite everyone in this siege event to sign this petition and amplify our call against the corporate control of the UNFSS. So I urge everyone, please sign on this petition, because this is very important to address and register our voices against this very unjust and toxic alliances. Please do sign these petitions.
So I just want to begin concluding by thanking everyone who's come today and everyone who has put their messages in the chat and contributed videos and worked over the past few months to start bringing this vision of the Counter Summit to light. Today we've heard some of this extreme symptoms of the neoliberal incursion into our food system, whether that's farmer poisonings from pesticide use, extreme climate change, mass food insecurity, mass land grabbing, the list goes on. But we've also heard from organizations who are working to come together to advance a vision of sovereign food systems that place the needs of rural people and agricultural workers and indigenous communities first, as well as those living in conflict, and recognizing that these are the people who have deep knowledge both of the problems in our current food system and of how to come out of them. So we've been seeing that what people are doing on the ground, where solutions are always beginning. And we've also seen the wonderful actions today in the protests outside of the headquarters of the FAO in Rome and all of the energy there, and also in Jakarta, where protesters assembled outside of the UN despite a COVID lockdown, showing us all the urgency of these issues and the fact that we cannot wait 1 minute longer to confront this theft of our collective future by the UN Food System Summit and by these corporate agribusinesses as a whole. So we're urging everyone who stands with the rural food producers, with our planet, with our future, to join us in the Global People Summit on Food Systems and together build a future of just, equitable, healthy, and sustainable food systems. And there's so many different ways to participate. And the best way to get started is to go to our website, which is hungryforchange.info. And that's hungry for, like the number, hungryforchange.info. And send a message or click a link, and we'll be so happy to be working with you to advance this future. And now we're going to turn over the moderation for a group photo and I think some chanting.
Thank you, El. I would request everyone, you all been promoted as a panelist of this event. Please turn on your camera and videos, and your audio. Please turn on your camera and audios so that we can start our protest, online protest. While our friends and comrades in Rome, Italy, and in Jakarta, Indonesia, on the ground protesting, we all, as a global village, global community in this event, we are announcing the siege of this process where the people's organization and the people's aspiration are not being addressed in the UNFSS. So are you ready, guys? Turn on your audios. Can I hear some noise?
Yes, yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Your audio, videos, and audios. So, can we chant? Chunk WTO.
Chunk WTO.
Chunk. All together, no? Not like delay in timing. Chunk WTO.
Chunk WTO.
Reclaim our land, our seed, and our rights.
Reclaim our seed, our land, and our rights.
Land to the tiller.
Land to the tiller.
Food for all.
Food for all.
Food for all.
Break the chain. Food sovereignty now.
Break the chain. Sovereignty
now.
You are all welcome to have your own chant. Please, I encourage all of you. Can I hear something from Indonesia? Indonesia? Come on. Ya, Indonesia. Bahasa.
Oh, in bahasa?
Ya, bahasa.
Anak untuk rakyat.
Anak untuk rakyat.
Thank you, Indonesia. Can I hear something from Bangladesh? Bangla? Okay. Do you have someone from Indonesia? India? Can we have from Philippines? Our Filipina friends here?
Tunay na reforma sa lupa. Ipaglaban.
No land, no life.
No land, no life.
Stop land grabbing.
Stop land grabbing.
Stop land grabbing.
Stop monopoly and plunder of our resources.
Stop monopoly and plundering of our resources.
Monopoly and plunder.
No to corporate agriculture.
No to corporate agriculture.
Food sovereignty now.
Food sovereignty
now.
Thank you, everybody. Can I hear something from Africa? Some chanting?
Food sovereignty now.
Food sovereignty now.
Food sovereignty now.
Food sovereignty now. Something
Food sovereignty now.
Food sovereignty now.
Can I hear something in Arabic from our Arab friends? Al, you can lead it.
Let's see. خلصنا الخرب والأرضنا خلا.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
And I just want to thank everyone again for bearing with us and for assembling together in this virtual protest and extending solidarity to our fellow comrades in Rome and in Jakarta. And again, to remind everyone about the meeting, the panel that we're hosting in 2 days, I believe at the same time. But all those details will be on Hungary for Change about war, occupation, and sanctions. So we hope to see you there. And thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay,
Wally,
bye-bye.
thank you. Arnold, Wally.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep safe, everyone.
Thank you.